Okay, everyone. So today I have Simon Jeynes, the strategy ahead at CSM. So Simon, go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit to our audience today.
Thanks very much, Paul. As Paul said, I'm Simon Jeynes. I'm with Christian School Management. You can find us at christianschoolmanagement.org. And we founded it in 2017. Before that, I had been teacher, administrator, head of school, consultant. I've worked in a whole bunch of different places, most of the United States, five other countries. Yeah, it's been an exciting ride. And now I'm working specifically with K-12 schools through CSM.
Awesome. Long journey. So tell us something about like what is CSM? What do you do as a strategy director? What's your vision with it? Walk us through it.
So very simply, we began CSM because Christian schools were declining and have been for decades. And so our insight was that most of these schools close for bad reasons: poor management
Hmm.
decisions, poor leadership, poor finances, unwillingness to make tough decisions, and not knowing what the questions were. And
Hmm.
maybe a little bit arrogantly, we thought we did know what the questions were and even knew what some of the answers were. And so we set up shop. We're a 501c3, and we work with K-12 Christian schools across the US and Canada specifically. Um, and my job as strategy director is to train consultants, to align consultants with clients, with our partners in the Christian school industry, to seek good marketing venues, and to create product that our schools can use.
Hmm. Understood. So how would a school get to know that they need someone like you? What problems they should be facing? That means they need you.
Well, that's a sort of a it's not a funny question, but it is a sort of a funny answer because schools know that they need us at the point where they're going to go out of business, and they go,
Hmm.
"Oh, geez, we need to do something about this." So that's one really easy one, and
Right.
then really clever schools know that they need us because highly sophisticated operations, really intelligent people in all industries understand that getting experts in, having a third party is always valuable. The challenge is in the sort of the middle group. They're not desperate and they're not clever. Um,
Hmm.
it doesn't mean they're stupid. It's just that they don't know what they don't know, and they think
Right.
that bumbling along is okay. And so they typically start to look around when either enrollment drops, um, which would be a big issue, obviously, or when they don't have
Right.
enough money and they have to either raise it or figure out some way of getting it.
Right. So the key symptoms that a school should, as soon as they see this, they should be contacting you. Those key symptoms should be dropping in the
And
enrollments.
enrollment, trouble between the board and the school. So that would be the second one. And the third one, let's think. Uh, the third one would be finances, but
Hmm.
in this sense, Paul, that I don't have the money to do the things that I really need to do. And we might think of that in three buckets. One, I don't
Hmm.
have enough money to pay my teachers, and so I can't recruit them, and I'm losing my best ones. Or
Hmm.
I don't have enough money to sustain my buildings, and so my roof is leaking, but I can't replace it.
Hmm.
Or I don't have enough money to support my teachers. And so I've got an art teacher with a budget of $150 and she's trying to do a great job and can't.
Hmm. Understood. Okay. And typically, who in the school would reach out to you? Would it be the management, the board? Talk to me a little
Yeah,
bit there.
typically it's either the principal or the head of school, sometimes a board member or the board president.
Understood. Now, this might be a little funny question because this video or podcast, multiple people might be seeing. It could be students, it could be parents of those students in the college or in the school, it could be teachers, it could be anyone. Any message or any feedback do students and parents have in the journey if school sees some symptoms or uh, talk to me a little bit.
So we get feedback after we've been in the school. And the
Mm,
feedback that we get from teachers, from children, from parents is sort of indirect. They don't
mm,
necessarily contact us, but what they
mm,
say to us is, wow, uh, all of a sudden I have more confidence in the school. All of a sudden I have more confidence in the product, in what's happening in
mm,
my child's life. And from a child's
mm,
point of view, they say, oh, wow, we're being taught better. We are happier. We're having a more joyful experience. And we get that pretty directly through face to face interviews and also through
mm.
survey data.
Understood. So, as a part of CSM and all the people and folks that work with you, who do you all kind of work with in a school, like the management, the board, the principal, teachers, and what different activities do you do with them, just so schools get to know you better?
Sure. So the probably the center of it, and everything sort of branches out from it, is strategic planning and strategic financial management. And what's interesting in saying that, Paul, is that that strategic planning, and of course, a million firms do that. You know,
Mm,
the usual
mm,
nonsense. Put sheets up on the wall and put your stickers on and put ticks. And I mean, it's craziness, craziness. But real strategic planning, which is very, very close analysis of the data, and then application of that analysis to what the school knows, putting that together and coming up with productive and generative ideas that will actually move the school ahead in dramatic ways, attached to, which hardly ever happens, a financial projection where we're budgeting forward and we're able to say, when we drop the pebble in the pond in 6 years, we can see what's going to happen financially. Oh, wow, that's a disaster. Let's not do that. That's like heaven. That's amazing. Let's do that one instead. And so that's the center of it. And then out from that with kids, we do scheduling. We look at the way in which they spend their days. With teachers, we talk about evaluation. We talk about compensation. We talk about pedagogy. With administrators, we talk about academic leadership, about management structure analysis. With boards, we talk about board retreats, board training. And of course, some of that is done online as well.
understood. So it's kind of working very closely with different actors or participants in the school. And I believe, I mean, the way you've explained it, strategy is something like everyone say it, but everyone cannot do it. It's just like marketing. You can find anyone and everyone saying, I can do it. But then who can build results is something very important. So I think
Yes.
that you have kind of nailed it down in that question. So what inspired you to kind of co-found CSM with other people in your company?
Well, I have to confess, it wasn't my age. I wasn't 30 looking for a new adventure. I was sort of starting to look at, being over the hill and being happy about it. And instead, I found myself just very disturbed in my spirit. As I went to schools where kids weren't having a great time, they weren't getting a great education, and the schools were failing. And it really at
Hmm.
the center of it, Paul, is my connection to children. I still substitute teach at my local school. In fact, I
Wow.
was there last week doing grade 6 band, if you can imagine. Um,
Hmm.
After 40 plus years in education, there I was teaching 11-year-olds how to play an instrument. Uh,
Wow.
but it's that connection with children and the fact that children are our future, and that if we don't bring children up in the right way, that our future society, our future culture, our future families are going to be deeply disadvantaged. And so
Hmm.
it's really all about the children.
Understood. What message do you want to kind of give out to some of the people in the management, the board, the principals, and the teachers working in such kind of schools?
Oh, that's a great intro question to a fantastic answer, which is hope. Hope.
Wow.
That there's tons of money in our society. We have this sort of image of poverty, and all the headlines tend to go along with that. And of course, there are people who are poor, and to be poor in the USA, and to some extent in Canada, is not a pleasant experience. Uh,
Hmm.
and along with that, there is enormous amounts of wealth, and people who genuinely want to use that for the good. And so we can be pretty sure that there's money to do what we want to do.
Mm,
Certainly for me and my colleagues in what we're doing at CSM, but for entrepreneurs anywhere, and for us in education, even though the demographic is declining, there are still lots of children. And because in our industry, children are required to go to school by law, it's sort of a captive audience. And
mm,
so we say to our folks, look, we're Christians, so we believe in resurrection. Uh, there is lots of money and there are lots of kids. What is there not but to hope? We can hope and be optimistic without being foolish.
mm. Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful answer. So, hope, super. So, your professional expertise or all the experience that you had before starting CSM and all that you do right now, how does that kind of help you in your journey working with the school, the students, the principals, and so on and so forth today at CSM?
So it's sort of interesting that when I look for consultants, and I'm the primary trainer, I uh, I refuse to hire people who are under 50 years of age. And
Mm,
I'm sure there's some law that says I'm not allowed to do that. Uh, but that's reverse age discrimination, right? But really, it's about having wisdom, not having knowledge. There are lots of younger people who have tons and tons and tons of knowledge. They're very intelligent, have no problems with any of that. But over time, for those of us who have got older, we translate that knowledge and experience and understanding, we
yes,
translate that into wisdom. And it's a different
right,
dimension. And so we're primarily looking around the the person who can look at a situation and then not provide technical knowledge. Lots of people have that, but can provide that, but under that umbrella of wisdom, that ability to discern, that ability to really have insight, who can use their intuition in a intuition's a dangerous thing, but used well, it can be incredibly powerful. Um, to use their
right.
emotional intelligence in profound ways to connect with the client. And so it's that wisdom that we're primarily looking for.
Understood. So basically, anyone or any consultant that we have at CSM is like super experienced, full of wisdom, is what we're looking at.
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Understood. So, to all the schools out there, it's a clear message. It's not kind of a consulting company, try to sell a product or do anything, but then they're carrying wisdom with all the experience and trying to help the school kind of revive and get to the next stage, is probably how I would kind of say it as a layman language. Would that be correct to say?
It's perfect. And I would add one phrase to provide a transformational experience in the life of every child that goes to the school.
Understood. How many schools do you typically work with in your network today?
So we've been really blessed since 2017. Of course, after 2017, we immediately got hit with COVID, as everybody did. Um,
Yes.
and uh, and yet uh, we've been really blessed, and we've grown every year. And now this year we have more connections to schools than we've ever had. We're sending Entheos out to almost 5,000 readers every week. That's our
Mm,
advisory letter, completely free,
mm.
as a service to the industry. And we work on site. This year, we'll work on site with over 50 schools directly.
Wow. So any school, principal, management, or board of directors, I think go to CSM and kind of subscribe to their weekly newsletter, right? And I think it brings a
Yeah,
lot of information. If I am a good reader, I remember it's coming every Sunday, I believe, and it has a
that's right.
lot of knowledge into it. And I mean that's the free resource that CSM is giving away, so it's kind of worth subscribing. I mean, people not into the in those positions, can they still subscribe and probably take that information? What do you have to say around that, Simon?
So we publish advisory articles, research based articles, biblically based articles. across 11 domains of management and leadership. So anybody who signs up, probably one or two every month will be directly relevant to them. And the other two they
Mm,
send to their colleagues. So if you're a teacher, there'll be something for you every now and again. If you're a board member, more often, because we're working primarily in governance and leadership.
mm,
If you're the principal or head of school, probably every week you're going to find something that either you personally find professionally riveting, or something that you absolutely want one of your team members to read. So it's something that will speak to every area of school life.
mm. Awesome. And as far as I know, a lot of research, effort, a lot of reading goes on in every weekly update that we typically get in this newsletter, correct?
Yeah, we say that our authority is based on our understanding of Scripture. We're not theologians, but we're immersed in Scripture. On our understanding of the research, we are
Mm,
to some extent researchers ourselves, uh, getting primary information from our clients, and we use that to construct our products and our advice around marketing and surveying and all kinds of other things. But we also read the research very widely, not just in education, but in economics, in sociology, in psychology, all the things that impact the way in which human beings make decisions with and for each other. And then finally, experience between our 11, 11 consultants right now. We
wow.
have probably over 4,000 years of 4,400, 11 times 40, over 400 years of experience. So,
Wow.
so yeah, scripture, research, and experience.
Superb. So if a school or a board kind of starts working with you, I mean, how long is the journey? How structured it is? Because again, like we have discussed before, everyone claims strategy, but then expertise of having everyone 50 plus coming in at a very niche that you only work with Christian schools is something I think must need for every school. I mean, if they understand that, absolutely, there are a lot of other wisdom people, kind of people full of wisdom sitting there. So how long is the journey? How structured is it, Simon, while you start working with the school?
So typically, uh, in an individual setting, we'll work with a school for around 3 months, including at least a week on site. What we
Mm,
hope is that it's not working for or over or to, but rather partnering with. And so
mm,
we want to have a relationship with the school. We hope that Entheos will provide a continuous relationship over time. We don't expect a school to pay us consulting fees every 3 months. They don't need to. But
mm.
over a period of time, and we find that right now, over since 2018, about 60 to 70% of our work is with repeat clients. And so I'm now
Wow.
doing the third and fourth strategic plan in a row with clients who started with us very, very early at CSM. And so we we see what might be described as miraculous things happening in schools. I mean, genuinely miraculous, from
Mm,
going from um, zero and going down to having full classrooms and starting a capital campaign. I'm just thinking about a school I did the third strategic plan with recently, and but it's miracle's a funny word, Paul. It sometimes makes you think of magicians and abracadabra, but that's not what miracle is at all. Miracle is really intelligent people uh,
right.
applying really
A miracle
thoughtful,
based on strategy.
yeah, yeah, and sustaining over time, sustaining over
Right.
time. And schools are a
Absolutely.
long-term business. You can't make a difference in 3 days or 3 weeks. You make a difference over 3 years, and that's why we're with them in that partnership along that journey.
Superb. A very funny question. I mean, if I as a student or I as a parent to some of the school kind of listens this or hears this podcast and I feel you probably was a good fit, can I recommend you guys to my school management or someone? I don't know if I can.
Sure, sure, absolutely. I mean, it's everybody has insight, um, and advice is free, right? Whether you take it, that's a whole different matter. But the advice itself, that's free.
Understood. Awesome. So, what role has tech played in CSM's success so far?
Well, uh, it without it, CSM wouldn't exist right from the first days. So when we
Wow.
start to think about how do you create visibility uh, in a marketplace, um, my first two things were LinkedIn and website.
Hmm.
Um, and so social media, social contact, networking, creating visible spaces in the tech universe became essential.
Right.
Obviously, that has to be undergirded at some point with personal relationships. Technology is not personal relationship, but without
Correct.
technology, you don't get a chance to have that personal relationship. And
Right.
so and then that would be the first one, and that's continued. So how do we continue to create a place where people can find us? The second one is that to to work with somebody personally is extremely expensive. We acknowledge that. To
Yep.
have a consultant, it is just not. It's not that it's not affordable. It's that it takes an investment, and you have
Correct.
to think carefully
A
about
lot of time and cost investment, especially specifically
exactly,
from both the sides. I mean, a lot of
exactly.
energy, and then it's not just the consultant; it's the person going through that journey as well. A lot of time commitment.
Exactly. Absolutely. And so
And people,
alongside
and I'm
that,
sorry, I'm interrupting you. People in problem are often more busier than the normal ones.
that's right.
So then committing to a time, taking that leap of faith that yes, out of my busy schedule, when things are kind of haphazard, I still want to take out time and work with into the strategy is very important. So talk to us a little bit there.
Well, I'll, I'll tell you a funny story. I walked into one boardroom, uh, and in the conversation, one of the board members looked at me and said, "Well, I didn't vote for you." Oh, the
And
majority
you still
voted me
have him.
down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I said, well, you tell me at the end. And I was serious. I said, you tell me at the end. And if it wasn't worth it, we'll refund every penny. Because our job is not to become millionaires. Our job is to help kids. And if you don't think that we've helped, then we'll give you your money back. Um, but I think that at the end, you'll be satisfied. What I hope is that you'll be incredibly satisfied. But I want to go back to
Hmm.
your question about technology because alongside the personal, technology has an incredible ability to help. And
Hmm.
so the ability, for example, to produce and create interactive online courses, the ability to provide tools that people can use
Hmm.
without, you put the data in and pop out comes something that's useful to you. So I think technology is an incredibly important partner to anybody who's working in a knowledge industry and trying to interact with a client.
Right. It's just about kind of using it at the right spot. So,
Yes.
what challenges have you faced in bringing CSM to where it is today? I mean, of course, it's a long journey. And again, yes, we are blessed, but then I'm sure there have been challenges involved. So, throw some light, what have been your journey on that side of it?
I do think that uh, I do think that maybe the biggest obstacle has been the fact that we're a Christian organization, but we're not aligned with anybody. So we're not Catholic, we're not Lutheran, we're not evangelical, we're not Christian Reform, we our consultants and the people who work in the company come from a variety of different places
Hmm.
in Christian life, and we don't necessarily all agree with each other, and we don't have to. The central figure of Jesus brings us together, and the desire to help children is the thing that unifies us.
Right.
But Christians, maybe weirdly, not maybe weirdly, are very clicky. They belong to a family. This is my family. This is my denomination, And
Hmm.
anybody who's not in my denomination, I'm pretty suspicious of. And so if I'm a Lutheran school, I want a Lutheran consultant. If I'm a Catholic school, I want a Catholic consultant because only they can really understand us. So that I think that's been the biggest challenge because we're not
Hmm.
aligned, we're not part of the club. And so, as you know, getting through that club door when there's a guard outside,
Right.
that's a
Yes.
tough
It's kind
place
of
to be.
breaking that barrier. Okay, let's keep that belief a little aside and let's focus on the major results, the school, the students, and what we are bringing on the table.
Yeah, and we're very excited because we've now worked with Lutheran schools, Catholic schools, Orthodox schools, evangelical schools, Christian Reform schools. We worked with schools from a variety of different backgrounds. Some of them were pretty darn hesitant to start off with, I got to tell you. But afterwards, it's all about the kids and the outcomes for them. And when you see
Hmm.
your bank account fill, and when you see your classrooms fill, and when you see your buildings look better, and the bathrooms have
And
been
students
renovated.
happy, students being
Exactly.
happy.
Exactly. Exactly. And most of the people,
Wow.
to be fair, most of the people that we work with, once we've got past that barrier, they don't care where we come from. They just care that we're
Right.
believers. And to be honest, many of them, once we've passed that barrier, they just want to see the results. Um,
Right.
they just want to see the results. Do we get?
Right.
Is there a return on investment? Um, and there is. We say we will make money for you every time we come in. We do
Right.
annual fund training, and we come in
Wow.
and do 3 days of annual fund training, and we say you'll increase your receipts 25% or more. So you're raising $80,000. You pay us, I don't know, 12 grand to come in and help you for three
Wow.
days. And you're going to make $100,000 and then 120 and then 140. So there's a big return on investment, and it's
It's a
year over year
no-brainer.
over
It's a
year.
no-brainer for anyone who's kind of
It's a,
hearing this out.
it's a no-brainer.
Superb. Yes, but then having passed that barrier that CSM can work with any Christian school out there is something important to understand. It's about the people who kind of accept this. Yes, we should give a chance and kind of work with
Yes,
them.
yes.
Superb. Okay. Can you share us a success story or a milestone that has made a big impact in this journey of yours in CSM and probably before?
Oh,
Let's make a question a little, trickier. One such impact before you start CSM and one impact you have made after, kind of co-founding CSM.
that I have made personally.
Yes, I mean a success story or a milestone that made a big impact towards starting CSM. I mean before, and then once you start CSM, what impact have you kind of created personally as well as towards the probably the school
Yeah,
and the people involved?
yeah, yeah. So, um, I think,
Simon is thinking from many out there that is in his mind. So let's see what comes up the best.
yeah. So I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to
Hmm.
start with during CSM, and I'm going to go back to one of the first schools that we worked with. So they had 110 students. They were about to lose all the international students for geopolitical
Hmm.
reasons, and
Wow.
they were going to have 87 students the next year and close. That was February. So that was a fact. That's not an opinion. That was a fact. That was going to happen. And they'd had an enrollment decline for, I'm going to say, 15 years, just dripping away, dripping away, dripping away.
And everyone just thinking what's happening with no actions.
Yeah, yeah. Because what do you do? Like, what steps can you take? And so when I won't name the school, although it's a wonderful
Of
story.
course.
Uh, and when I went out there with my colleague, we always go in twos because Jesus sent his disciples out in twos. When I went out there with my colleague, they had just cut their academic budget to zero in order to make the
Seriously?
budget balance. Zero. Yes.
Wow.
No money for anything. So they had no money, no prospects. And I said, well, from CSM's point of view, we believe in resurrection, we believe in hope. There's lots of money out there. There are lots of kids. So let's take the first step. And I said, let's do two things. Let's do three things. Let's see if we can find somebody to donate some money to make good signage inside the school so you look more professional.
Mm.
Let's create a trifold, which we can just run off on the printer, so that you've got something to hand out to people. And let's make sure that the place is spotless.
Mm.
So anybody that comes in goes, oh, this place is safe, because clean equals safe in a parent's mind. So we
So
did that.
just three things you start with:
Three things. And
the
one
print.
attitude. Yeah, and one attitude. And the attitude was a prospective family hasn't said no until they've told you to get lost. That's the attitude. No just
Mm.
means not yet. They have to be
Absolutely.
irritated and tell you to get lost. That's when you stop calling them. That's when you stop talking to them. And I got to tell that's all we did. And we set up some. The school set up some events, and how are you going to do this, and how are you going to do that, and how could we? What were the good things that we could leverage in terms of marketing a message and so on? So there was all that kind of stuff. But I still remember the principal phoning me at the beginning of the summer, and we had a monthly meeting, and which they didn't pay for because they had no money. So they paid for
Mm.
there was a donor who paid for our consult, but after that we provide free advice because our job is resurrection and whatever it takes. And so we had these monthly meetings, and the one in, I'm going to say June, I can't say for sure, but June, maybe May, we were going through all the prospects. He said, "Look, I've called this family 6 times already. How many times shall I call them?" I said, "Well, until they tell you to get lost." He
Or
said,
they block
"Okay,
you off.
I get that." He said, "Now there's this family, and you said I had to call every family that said they weren't coming back or hadn't re-enrolled,
Mm.
and call them every month." So he said, "There's this family, they don't even answer the phone. What do I do?" I said, "Keep calling them." He
Mm.
said, "Well, what do you think? Well, what do you predict?" I said, "I predict that in August they'll say, 'Oh yeah, right, yeah. We'll bring in the re-enrollment forms this week. We sort of It sort of got away from us. We went on holiday, and we couldn't be
We
bothered.
were busy. We
We were
missed it. Sorry.
busy. Yeah. You should have phoned us. You should have
Mm.
reminded us." That's what they'll say. And sure enough, in August, he rang me, said, "I can't believe it. I got two families showing up that I thought were gone. Like
Wow.
they had made no contact whatsoever." So we, instead of going from 110 to 100 to 87, we went from 110, lost all our international students, remember due to geopolitics, and
Yeah.
ended up with 111. I said,
Wow.
"Okay, now what do we do?" And that was step by step by step by step. Paul, and they had no money. Remember, Paul, this year, so literally 2025, we redid their strategic plan for the third time. Third time.
Mm.
They have 203 students. 203
Wow.
students. They have a cash reserve of over $300,000. So they have a full budget and a cash reserve, and they are in this strategic plan going to run a capital campaign and build a gym.
Wow.
That's motivational for me. That's motivational for me.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
motivational.
I mean, I'm thinking from a perspective of a principal or management who's trying to struggle the school and they still don't know what to do. I mean, watch this video out, contact Simon, boom, that's it. And just, I would say, just follow him. I mean, as
So
far as
much
I know,
fun.
just follow him.
It's so much fun. And it's not complicated things, right? It's simple things, but really profound. Knowing where the pressure points are, knowing where the influence points are, understanding those things and pressing them. Because you know this in your business, as anybody in any business, there are 1,000 important things to do, but only three of them matter. You
Yes.
have to ignore the 997 and say no to them. They don't matter.
Superb. Let's reiterate what are those three things for everyone who's listening them, because people have a tendency of forwarding the videos. What are the top three things people should focus on?
So it's often the second and third are often different for every school, but the first is the same for every school. An unrelenting focus on enrollment. You
Hmm.
would be amazed that an independent school, a private school, that has to fight in the marketplace in order to have, quote, customers,
Right.
would not be focused on getting them. But 99% of Christian schools, and I was working with independent schools, secular schools before CSM, and I would say
Hmm.
probably 70% of secular schools, but 99% of Christian schools don't think about enrollment in a serious way. They don't
So
include it
true.
in their strategic plans. Is that
Right.
is that unbelievable or what? That your number one strategic objective is to fill classrooms.
Correct. I mean,
From a
if the
mission point of
students are
view,
filled in, the teachers, the management, the staff, the fund, everything kind of
yeah,
keeps moving.
yeah, yeah. So that's the number one for everybody, and two
It's
and
like
three
I
are
need a good
different.
chef, but I don't want to have the veggies and the raw materials for the chef.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
today's a buffet out there.
Well, I have sat in the booth of a restaurant with a head and a board president. So a head of school and a board president. And they spent 45 minutes telling me all the things that they were going to do and how wonderful it was and what there was in their strategic plan and what did I think. And I said, "Do you really want me to tell you what I think?" I said, "Because if you do, I'm going to." And they said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, we want to
Before
know."
you start hating me for it.
And I said, "All of those things are nice, but none of them matter." I said, "Your enrollment is dropping. You haven't said one word about enrollment. None of this stuff matters. None of it matters.
Hmm.
Your enrollment's dropping. When we talk about enrollment,
Wow.
that's the only thing that matters."
Jaw dropping. I was like,
It is.
what?
It is. But that's why I said close to the beginning that CSM began because we're a declining industry. We're not a growing industry. We're a declining
Right.
industry.
Do
And
people sometimes like feel like hiding this? I don't talk about going, losing enrollments, even to consultant. I don't know, maybe.
it's
Or probably they
because
don't want to bring the fact upon, in front of you.
it's because they're all teachers. They don't think about marketing. They don't think about money. They
Hmm.
don't think about strategy. They think
Right.
about what should we do in the classroom. And it's not a bad thing to think about, right? They are schools,
Right.
but strategically, it's not the number one question.
Understood. Awesome. So, how extensive is your strategy discussion report that you typically do each year with the school? And correct me if it's not each year.
So strategic planning we do every 4 years. And the outcome of that is a document that tells you year by year by year by year what needs to be done, who's going to do it, how much it costs, and where that money's coming from. Very, very specific. It's a to-do list. We also do something called a strategic health check, where we
Hmm.
will do an analysis, a deep analysis, and at the end of the week, you get. I just did one with a colleague, and you get a 140-page document and a 4-hour presentation, and here's our
Hmm.
analysis. Here are the things that we think are important, and here are the directions that we suggest you talk about, which we hope, of course, turns into a strategic plan. So everything that we do has an output. There's something that at the end of the week we leave, but there's a to-do document. So
Hmm.
I mentioned annual fund training. At the end of the 3 days, there's a to-do document. Here's the handbook that you can follow with the materials that you need, the calendar, what everybody's going to do. There's always a to-do document at the end of whenever we leave.
Right.
Really important to us because
How
our
long is that document typically? How many pages? How many to-do lists? What are we thinking and
all
talking
all
here?
depends. A strategic plan is 30 to 40 pages. A strategic health check is 140 pages. Annual fund
Wow.
training handbook is maybe 25 pages. But there's always something left behind that says this is what you do. Our
Very
schools,
strategically
yeah, our
done.
schools don't have a lot of money, so we want to maximize it, and our schools don't have a lot of people, and so we want to make sure that they're really focused in and know what they're going to
Hmm.
do.
So all these tools out there who are trying to engage strategic consultants,
Yeah.
free, bona fide, paid, and probably someone comes to you, talk about your problems and give you quick 2, 3 gimmicky solutions. Be like, I'm a good consultant, pay me thousands of dollars. Hold yourself. A strategic document can be as long as a 40-page document with all the, depth analysis into it, precise to-do list, and kind of shows you where you would be by doing this task, what's the journey, and you kind of evolve there every year. So it's a complete, I would say, a path. Like I would just, students have subjects to pass every
Yeah.
class. I mean, the school also has subjects and classes that they should go through to kind of make the
Well,
success.
and it will tell you at the end of 6 years how much money you'll have in the bank.
Wow.
And it'll be pretty accurate.
Super. So is it like 80, 90%, kind of always accurate that you have seen in the past?
Oh,
Again,
it's
if they're
over 90.
following everything that you have
Yep.
said, and they
Yeah. And obviously you have to use your intelligence and your understanding, and
right.
stuff happens. But yeah, I would say it's over 90% accurate.
Wow. Okay. So I'm very fortunate here as a co-founder of Yesite Labs. That was the first project we digitalized with you, the strategy report that you do, right?
That's right.
Talk to me a little bit. I mean, I, that document that when I first saw, it was very detailed. It has been evolved over so many years, so many discussions, so many clients. So it's not something you can get. It's something that has been created, from the inception to what people get today, right? So it's a lot of experience, collaboratively 400 years of experience from the consultant side and a lot of inputs from the schools that have worked. So thousands of experience into that big document. What made you think to create that digital version with us? What was it all about? How did that kind of hit your mind? Talk to me about that journey.
Two things very specifically. One is that the document that we produced for the client didn't look that great. It was all right,
Mm,
but it wasn't that professional. And the second thing was that the amount of time that it took us to create it on site
mm,
just made no sense at all. We were working 14-hour days, and a percentage of that was not in helping the school, but it was in formatting something and putting it in the right place and
mm.
trying to make it all fit.
Because
And,
present it well to the school,
yeah,
the
it
school
was
as
just a
well.
mess. And so we were just very frustrated that it was taking us a lot of time. And at the end,
Mm,
it wasn't a consistent look. It wasn't a professional look. And we had to do that every time. It wasn't as if we could use this and then replicate it. It was you had to redo it
so
every
every
single
consultant,
time.
every school, every year, multiple times.
Yeah.
So it was
And so
tedious. Okay.
we said there's got to be somebody out there who can, and we understood that these kinds of things are not simple. They look simple, it's a set
Mm,
of columns. But nothing is that simple. We knew that by doing it ourselves.
mm,
But we said there's got to be somebody out there who can digitize this, make it consistent, make it a document that we can focus as consultants on doing the thinking and the writing. And here's the document. I don't have to think about how to present it
right.
or how to,
Rather than making it beautiful, right? So spending
exactly.
time with the school, thinking and strategizing, and not polishing the document so the board of directors feel okay, it was a good decision. So it
Yeah,
is about what's in there and not how it looks. So you wanted to kind of
that's right.
automate that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And so working with Yes at Labs was I'm trying to remember how we met each
It was
other.
a cold discussion. It was a cold connection in email. I remember that.
Is that right? Yeah. So well, you get lots of cold calls, and
Mm,
most of them you just delete. And some of them you spam because of whatever. And for some reason, call it God, call it whatever you want. I call
yeah.
it grace. For some reason, I answered it, and we got
I'll call it
connected.
hope.
Yeah, yeah. Because I was looking for somebody, and so that this was our first project. It was sort of like
Mm,
it was an important project. It wasn't that it was not important. It was very, very important, but it was also proof
mm.
of concept. Like, could we
Right.
get a working relationship? Could you produce
Mm.
something that we could use, and could we do it at a cost that was good for
Mm.
you, good for us, worked all the
Right.
way around. And so it was a process. I mean, it took several months to get to where we needed to get, but
Yes.
but now we have a product that we use routinely, and we have, please God, no issues with it.
Wow, that's good to know. So what reminds you of our first call, if you remember anything about it, when we were first talking, kind of talking about you had something in mind. I saw that report for the first time. Of course, I have some very, very clear memories, but you tell me about what your perception was.
Well, I'll tell you, Paul. I got off the call and I contacted Jerry, uh, and who's now the
And Jerry,
executive
just
director.
Jerry, everyone who's hearing is his co-founder, right? And probably one of the senior consultants as well.
Yeah, and he's now the executive director. And I said, I just got this phone with this guy, and I'm looking for somebody who can do this strategic planning report. And I said he told me how to run my business, and he was pretty good. Like I got a lot out of that. And so somebody who understands business in that sense, it's a good start. It's a solid
Mhm.
foundation. And you were very perceptive about how businesses operate, the kinds of questions they need to ask. And um, you know, I'm an educational consultant. When I started this gig, I was not a quote businessman. Um,
Hmm.
so talking with you was another step along my evolution as a business person.
Wow. I appreciate the wisdom there. I mean, this is probably the first time I was ever able to make a teacher happy. So I'll put it that way. Just kidding. Okay. So, how was working with the SIT Labs kind of contributed to this progress in CSM, even if it was 1%, but then how has that contributed in the CSM journey?
So with the strategic planning app specifically, and then we've worked on surveys since then.
Yeah.
With the strategic planning app specifically, um, every one of my consultants has directly commented on how it's made their work significantly better.
Wow.
Not easier, in the sense of analysis and identifying and so on. It is what it is, but better, more pleasurable. They can think about the things they should and they're paid to think about.
Mhm.
And they don't have to think about the things that they really shouldn't and they're not paid to think about.
Right. The
Um,
documentation and everything.
yeah, it's just made working better. And of
Mm.
course it's a private app just for
It's
use within the
proprietary to
company.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
With the surveys, that was a you want me to talk about surveys a little bit?
I'll come to that.
Okay.
Before we dive in and tell people more about the service, talk to me a little bit about that, that leap of faith, talking to a stranger, getting on a video call, sitting in two different parts of the world, and then, you know what, let's do it together. What was that leap of faith that you took? Because again, you know, discussing the project, having something on the paper, agreeing to it, and putting some money down to complete stranger, right? So talk to me a little bit that leap of faith, and what was your perception back then?
Yeah, so for any who are watching this, Paul and I have never actually met in person. What
Never.
you're seeing is our meeting. Um, and for me, Paul, it's not really a leap of faith. It's a carefully calculated risk.
Mm,
So the thing that we needed to produce was private. It wasn't something the client was going to use. If it crashed and burned, nobody was going to get hurt except us. And if
mm,
it worked extremely well, then it was going to be good. But the carefully calculated risk was, because I don't understand, in quotation marks, I don't understand technology. I'm not a coder, um, but I've had a lot of connection to
mm,
technology and to coding from my previous experiences. And so when I'm listening to somebody, if you pardon the phrase, I can tell bullshit when I hear it. Um, and and you said something very profound for me, uh, because you said that you were interested as the founder of Yes It Labs, you were interested in process, not in
Hmm.
product, and
Strong
that was very
process and
profound for
strong
me.
people is what,
Yeah,
was my first mantra.
yeah, and that was very profound for me because I don't think that you partner with if you're buying a if you're buying a bag of potatoes, you look at the potatoes and you go, are they good potatoes? But if
Hmm.
you're buying a relationship, buying in quotation marks, but if you're buying a relationship, you're looking at the person
Hmm.
and whether you can trust them or not. And so when you said you were interested in process, not product, that resonated with me because our firm is
Hmm.
all about process, not product. It's about relationship and connection, and so you resonated, and you
Hmm.
seemed obviously competent. Um, and I was willing to take the calculated risk part was
Hmm.
I didn't know whether you could deliver, and I was willing to put some money down to find out.
Wow. I'm glad for everyone know it worked and everyone is happy. So the
It
first
did.
test gets passed.
Yes.
Okay. So once that was in the place, we started working on another thing that you were trying to work on, and that was service. How integral is service a part of CSM journey with different people or actors involved? And what was the challenge that you were facing while using other service tools that were available out there?
So surveys are a crucial part of our um, strategic direction. Um,
Hmm.
we did not have access to surveys for the first 6 years of CSM,
Mm.
and so people who came to us, they brought their own surveys that they had done, created through Survey Monkey, whatever, or other professional companies that were providing surveys. And
Mm.
so we didn't have that as a service, and that from the beginning was a gigantic hole because we
Mm.
needed surveys that spoke specifically to our schools, that
Right.
research based specifically within our client base.
So
Uh,
technically, you were saw the service, but then you did not had much say what to ask and what data to collect, basically. So it's like, you know, a wrong set of data, which probably is not even relevant to your strategy.
well, they gave us what they had, but
Mm.
it wasn't as useful as it could have been. So the
Okay.
second big problem, or maybe this is the third big problem. I can't remember how many problems we've had so far. Let's call it the third. The third big problem was price. So our schools
Mm.
that we work with are fairly low tuition. That doesn't mean they're inexpensive. They're $7,000 to $12,000 a year, but that's low in USA
Right.
terms, where a
Correct.
typical school might be $20,000 to $40,000 a year.
Correct.
And so they don't have a lot of money, and the professional companies, which are doing a good job in surveys, um, were charging from $1,500 to $3,000 a survey. So if you think
Wow.
about running 3 surveys a year, and you have to run them every year in order to get trend data, that's
Correct.
like you know um, $5,000 to $15,000 a year. For our schools,
Oh,
that was an
that
enormous amount.
hurts.
Yeah, and we could have said, well, it's worth it, and we would have said we would have said,
Especially
yeah,
for
that's
schools where
actually
the enrollments are kind of falling and the revenue is, or the profits or the cash stuck is kind of
that's right,
stuck.
that's right. You have to have cash flow for it. But the feedback is invaluable. The survey data is invaluable. And so our challenge wasn't creating a good survey. There were 3 good surveys out there, all
Hmm.
3 good surveys out there.
Hmm.
But how could we reduce the cost radically?
Hmm.
And of course, we're in a time of AI. We're in a time when um, to carry out 3 billion transactions is way faster than it was before.
Hmm.
The what we can get on a transistor is expanding exponentially every year. And so I thought this is crazy. We should be able to do this in an automated fashion where the prime cost in surveys is the people. It's not the survey
Hmm.
itself, it's the people. And so if we
Right.
could eliminate the people, by and large, you can never eliminate people entirely, but if you could eliminate the people and have a process where the school was in charge and felt good about that, and the report came instantly once the survey was
Right.
closed, and that we as CSM didn't have to create it or do it,
Right.
we could reduce the cost dramatically. And in our first conversation, I said I needed to be able to do all three or four surveys. So teacher, student, parent, and employee for under $1,000.
Wow.
An average of $250, less than $250 per survey. If I could do that, I said, we could work with pretty much any school and they would believe that was possible. They would believe that that could be a budget line and
Hmm.
they could do that year after year after year. So that was the challenge. And I found a company, the only company in the world. I'd been looking
Wow.
for it. I'm not quite sure if I told you this, but I'd been looking for it for a decade because my previous company did surveys as well. And I thought, this is crazy. There's got to be somebody out there doing this. And I'd been looking for a decade, and I finally found a company in Belgium that did this service. So
Wow.
so we
One
contracted with
company
them.
you were able to find that did
One
what
company.
exactly you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So what was so different about any other service tools in this Belgium company that was able to do this?
So I got hold of companies like Qualtrics, who are the leaders in surveys in
Hmm.
the United States,
Hmm.
and other people too. And they were all interested in selling me
Packages.
a product. They
Yes.
didn't want to sell me the process because they were
Right.
making too much money on the product. And you said to me, well, I'm interested in the process, not the product. I said, great,
Hmm.
great. Um, but the problem was that this Belgian company, with the best will in the world and with really good customer support, I have to say, failed completely to do what we needed. I don't know why,
Hmm.
because they work with, I don't know why. I don't know why. And so once we had got into our strategic planning process, we started a conversation about internally about, well, we need to talk with them about surveys because we need plan
Hmm.
B. Plan A is not
Right.
working, but we need
Correct.
plan B. So we've
And we are
driven a plan.
actually not finding any plan B out there which is existing, that could work out. Or
That's right.
maybe for
That's
the
right.
same kind of cost.
That's right. That's right. Oh, everybody
Hmm.
wanted to work with us, but when they told us
Right.
what the costs would be, I went, that's out of not our budget, but out of our school's budget. And so
Right.
so I said to you, can you do this? And you said, oh yeah.
Yes.
So that's the journey that we're in now. It hasn't been an easy one. We've been at it for um, almost exactly maybe a little bit over a year now. Um,
Right.
and we're
We added
close.
so many bells and whistles, the student service, the employee or the teacher survey, the parents, and I think the principals and everyone was also there. So a lot of things going on. There are a lot of bells and whistles that this product has evolved, and there were some challenges, updates, instant reports. We had to change the tech because I know that some of those conversations where suddenly we had a lot of data and we had to optimize our tech to get much faster results. So it was kind of a journey that we are here now.
Yeah, and it reminded me how complex technology is. It reminded me how complex coding is, and it reminded me how difficult quality assurance is. Um,
Hmm.
and that and that if you yes it and we CSM can't find the glitch, the client definitely will.
Well,
They will definitely
absolutely.
find the problem. And then they've been very kind. They haven't yelled at
Yes.
us, but every now and again you can hear the irritation. Like, I'm paying for a
Right.
service, I should be getting a service. And
Right.
so it's been a journey. It's been a good journey. We're, please God, hopefully coming close to the end. Um, but for everybody out there, We now have surveys. We can do you 3 surveys for under $900, uh, instant reports, and with very, very, very few technical glitches at this point.
Mm.
Not
So
none, but
everyone,
very
everyone
few.
who's thinking, Simon, everyone who's thinking, What's there in a survey? You put a question, three options, and you get the result."
Right? Yeah.
Right? What's so specific about these surveys that people should even think of or can imagine? What kind of detailed work do you typically do with your clients, and how extensive this survey application is?
So we took the surveys as seriously as we take everything else. It wasn't just an add-on; it is a crucial strategic piece of what we do. Data is everything. It's not everything, but without it, you have nothing. And we
Mm,
needed good data. So we started off developing the surveys using university surveys, which were already
mm,
tested, reliable, and valid from a statistical point of view. And so we knew that what they were doing, if we just got what they did, we would be good. But then we took that, we hired a statistics surveying
mm,
company, and we
right.
did primary research within our own database. We added questions that were crucial to us. We adapted some questions to fit our Christian school ethos, and we tested it in our own marketplace. So it started out as valid and reliable. We then added and tested, and we came up with something which was specific to our industry, which is also largely valid and reliable. So
Mm.
the thing itself is great, and we've had a couple of we've had a couple of clients say, "Wouldn't it be nice if we had questions on this and this and this and this?" And
Custom
the answer to
questions.
yeah, 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 yeah. The answer to that is, well, every survey is limited. And so we've asked the questions that we believe are not important, but the ones that matter. So there are a lot
Mm,
of important questions that maybe we don't ask, but we ask the questions that matter. Uh,
mm.
and and so we're very secure in how we think about our surveys. And with Yes, It's help, we're going to be very secure in how we deliver the surveys. And it is already, and it will be an incredible service to our schools.
Awesome. So all the schools out there, the management, the board of directors who are still on very simple surveys or do probably nothing, just take normal feedback. What message do you want to convey with CSM and the service app or the product that you have now, with, of course, a very good process and very good people that you have?
Yeah. So every school um, knows that they need survey data. There's a
Mm,
bunch of other things, but they know that they need survey data. What we want them to know is that they can get fantastic survey data at a price that is completely believable, that they can
mm,
do year after year after year. It's not
right,
it's not nothing, because there are ongoing costs that we have to cover, but it well, it's less than $1,000. I mean, it's ridiculously cheap. Um,
right,
Again, it's not nothing, but it's at a level that you can look at it and go, I am definitely going to get value for my dollar. In fact, I'm going to get
right.
extraordinary value. Just as when we come on site, we say, you'll never lose money on us. You'll always make money on us. You'll always make a profit on your consulting fees. So we can say with surveys, you'll always make uh, a
A data
feedback
investment.
information profit
Right.
on the minimal fees
And
that we have to
right.
charge.
And that will help them take informed decisions. I mean, a lot of people
Exactly.
take decisions with experience, assumptions, and so on and so forth, but then taking informed decisions with real, precise data.
Yes.
And then you
Well,
already have someone who has thought and worked on and evolved these questions that are not good to have, they are must to have. They matter the
yeah,
most.
that's right. That's
So
exactly right.
how can these students kind of contact you? Should they come on your LinkedIn, on your website? They want to try and survey with you. Where exactly should they go?
Oh, yeah. Getting hold of us is very easy. You can go to our website, christianschoolmanagement.org. There's a ninja form, there's a help button. You can email us at csm@christianschoolmanagement.org. Very, very easy to get hold of us. Um, yeah, and we like to think extraordinary customer service. If you get hold of us, you won't have to wait 2 weeks for us to get back to you. We'll be back to you within 24,
Like
48
a lot of
hours.
other companies. Absolutely. Superb. So I think we have already taken a lot of your time, but I want to kind of quickly wrap a few precise questions, very easy. So any behind the scene moments that kind of truly represents yours and ours journey together?
Well, there was the moment where the parent survey, which was the first one we did together, went through without a hitch, and behind the
Wow.
scenes there was some wows going on, like wow, 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 wow. That's incredible.
Awesome.
That's a great thing. So I think
Awesome.
there's always that moment of exhilaration when it works, finally
Right.
happens. And I think
Yes.
too, to be fair to our client schools, that we've been very, very grateful to those who were the, so to speak, guinea pigs and were the first ones. And
Right.
that,
Because they supported us a lot and they were very patient with us. And because you're building some things will crash. I mean, you have to understand multi-billion dollar tech companies also crash. Google goes down, Microsoft goes down, anything and everything happens.
um,
But then having some good clients who kind of support you in the journey are sometimes irritated, but then they don't express that much is something a blessing to have, I would believe. Not everyone has such
uh,
clients.
I think that's the second thing that's been the big aha for us: how gracious people are, and how
Yes.
willing they are to
And
forward
I
the
think that
industry as a
that kind of
whole.
puts in a lot what the value that you've given them in the past is what kind of, is a part of that behavior as well.
Yeah, we're just very grateful that they didn't yell at us a lot. So that was well, I mean, really, right? Uh, we,
Yes,
we,
so
we're
true.
not we're not a patient people anymore. Patience went out with the Industrial Revolution, I think.
There
So
are a lot more patients and less people, I would say.
yeah, so we yeah,
Okay,
blessings on
sorry.
every one of our schools. Yeah,
Okay. So again, I was not the only one involved. Again, as we said, I was more on the strategy side, having the processes and the people made and seeing more from a holistic view as a 360 at the kind of seeing the whole elephant with you. How is your experience working with, the project managers, the designers, CTO, Sherry coming in? Because again, at every step, we discussed, and suddenly you find a new guy with a new design and you've kind of started something. What's going to come in front of you? So, how's your experience working with the designers, the project managers, the testers, the CTOs? How was that experience? And it was
so
all
there,
virtual meetings, kind of scheduling out
yes,
emails,
yes.
Zooms, and everything. So, all that was
So I
in
think
in
there
the
there have been
place.
two parts that have been uh, uh, excellent, and one part that has not. The two parts that have been excellent have been the the willingness to adapt and to really go with the flow a little bit. Um, and when something isn't working, to what's the word? Troubleshoot, troubleshoot
Bug
possible
fix,
solutions.
troubleshoot
Yeah,
and bug fix, kind of
yeah. I
recreate
think
the issues. Yeah.
the second thing that's been excellent has been the responsiveness of customer support. By and large, uh, the back and forth has been pretty fast
Mm,
and good. Those have been the two excellent things. The not so good thing has been the testing side. The
mm,
testing of the product has been weak. When
mm.
we've tested it, we found things that the ESIT testers should have found. They weren't hard
Right.
to they weren't hard to find. So that's
Mm,
been the weak part.
right. So there are few people in the world that believe in making things, and there are few people out there who believe in breaking things. That those are called software testers. So
That's right.
they kind of
That's right.
they kind of see the product working, but then again, yes, absolutely, that's a very good feedback. So then the next thing they want to work on is how would a user actually perceive the application, use it, what issues they're coming, not from a user or tester point of view, but then actually feel the experience what people are trying to do and then see into issues. And I think that has been a good iterative process where, worked on with you. The team was persistent, and again, we appreciate how you were coming on board. Okay, let's get on a call, let's see what those issues are, let's try and recreate. And then they kind of building that perception with you of how, the results are expected at the, at CSM and also at their clients, because that level needs to be achieved at all sides to kind of have a very good, gracious support and building out there. Very good.
Yeah,
So
and it seems to me that the coders and the testers have to be two completely separate people groups. That the coders
they
do
are
it,
the biggest
but
enemies in the world, I can tell you.
yeah, 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 yeah. And I know from my previous experience that um, coders are all idiosyncratic. I mean, theoretically, everybody codes the same way, but we all know that's not true. And so the job of the code breaker is to go, how many ways can I show that
Break
this
this.
that yeah, exactly. So
Right.
I would be useless as a coder, but I'd be pretty good as a breaker.
Awesome. And again, whenever everyone talks about, testing and everything, the meme that always comes to mind is, there's very famous meme out there for, software testers. You have a kind of a hanging, the stoplight, red, yellow, and green. It works, but kind of hanging, This is how my code works, but it's hanging. You need to fix it. So, the tester not just seeing that it's working red, yellow, and green, but then ensuring it's not hanging, it can fall any day, kind of ensuring it's scalable, it's robust, and it's reliable is very important for any software product to work.
Right.
So awesome. So as a part of our, this podcast or this meeting that we're doing, we love highlighting some unique experiences, any fun, any unexpected moments that probably have come along the way. Fun, weird, anything that you can think of.
So, so I have to say, Paul, it's been a very serious experience.
Okay, so nothing fun, nothing weird. It's serious. Okay, I mean, I'll
Well,
take that as a compliment. People are serious in our company.
yeah, it's been a very well serious from both sides. I mean, from our side, we've put tens of thousands of dollars into it, and
Right.
it is an ongoing, very serious
Mm,
thing. And we're
right.
continuing to invest in it. So I think the fun for us is in the process. I mean,
Mm,
seriously, it's maybe that's a little bit weird, but we just love being in a process that's iterative, that's generative, that is uh, that is world beating. I
mm,
mean, we're doing something that only one other company has done and actually failed to do. So, I mean,
mm.
that's pretty exciting. Um, I love being on the edge. Doesn't worry me, and I think it's fun for me, the fun is having a problem and then solving it.
Wow. And then finally taking to a point which works. And it's not hanging,
Oh
it's
yeah.
working, it's stable.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's got to work. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So what's next for CSM? Any exciting challenges or opportunities ahead you're working on? I know you are working with one more product, which is a lot of using of AI into it, and then a lot of other things can come. Talk us a little bit on the journey ahead that you see.
Yeah. I think there are probably three or four things that
Mm,
we can see. What one is, in what sense does Chat GPT put consultants out of business? If I want advice, I can literally go and say, write me a strategic plan that has these objectives in it, and it will produce one.
mm.
Um, so in what
A
sense
machine
does
strategy.
For sure, for sure. But the scouring of the internet is so vast, which I think brings
Mm,
up all kinds of copyright problems and whatever that nobody's
right.
really willing to address. Um, but but that what that means is what's the higher value that a person can bring.
Mm,
The higher value is not good English. AI can do that. The higher value has to be in what the brain can do and what ones and zeros can't. At the end of the
mm,
day, Chat GPT is ones and zeros. It's
Right.
not a brain.
I'll
Um,
probably go back to where we started. It's the wisdom that AI cannot bring you to the table.
that's right. That's right. And so
It's the
how does
hope.
that,
It's the hope they cannot bring. It's the grace they cannot bring.
yeah.
So
And so how does that
AI
change our
is
thinking?
artificial intelligence, but then it's an assistant. It's not a replacement. So you have to
Right.
understand what value the centuries of combined experience that CSM brings to the table for these students, parents, university students, teachers, everyone at the board is, I mean, phenomenal.
Yeah. So that's one direction that we're looking at technology. Another direction is what kinds of tools can we create
Mm,
that are simple for boards and for administrations, leadership teams to use. What kinds of tools can we imagine where
mm.
you put data in and something magical happens and you get this great result. You don't have to work at it. Um, and so there are lots of really simple tools that look simple, but again, are the results of lots of experience and so on. But
Right.
we'd love to develop for our clients. Um,
Awesome.
yeah.
Superb. So, last but not the least, what advice would you like to give to others looking to build something similar, or other people who believe they can do something but are kind of hesitant to kind of take those steps, and not just to other people at your side as a person, as a consultant helping their clients in using tech, but also to a message to the the schools, the management there. So give me those two messages as a as a last but not the least step of this discussion.
Education is a long game. It's not. There's no instant gratification, like almost zero instant gratification. And to get a great outcome takes enormous perseverance and persistence. And so one of the things that we have to build in ourselves and in our leadership and in the people who are coming up in leadership in our schools is resilience. Um,
Mm,
it's it's very challenging. Schools are very challenging in a way that they were not 20, 30 years ago. Literally, I'm thinking about the difference between 21st century schools and 20th
right.
century schools, and that ability to be resilient and tough, very tough, in the best possible way, is
Mm,
a crucial characteristic. I think along with that, and it's a sort of a next to and part of is the ability to withstand high frustration. And when we're
mm,
thinking about tech, tech is a high frustration industry. Um, again, there's no instant gratification. It's a long game, and you have to have a high threshold for frustration as you work through it. Um,
mm,
with an understanding that coming out the other side is a ray of sunshine. In fact,
mm.
several rays of sunshine. And so
Right. So
that's what you're
true.
looking for. Yeah, yeah. And it's
Right.
not that it's raining along the way or it's gray or it's unpleasant or whatever. It's just that again, it's the long game with
It's a journey.
technology
It's a
and
journey. There'll be ups and
journey.
downs.
With if you're running a school and you're watching, it's a long game. If you're
Mm,
working with technology and trying to create some things, it's a long game. It's not something. It's something that can derive great rewards, but there's going to be a cost to it. There's going to be a personal cost, a
right.
financial cost, um, and even a
Time cost, very important.
yeah, yeah.
Understood. So be resilient, be persistent, stay where you are and kind of keep, try and get to the threshold. And of course, then there'll be a lot of things that you'll cherish about is
Yeah.
probably, how I can say it. Awesome. So I think it was a wonderful conversation and this recorded meeting podcast with you. And I think you've given very good insights to all those people out there. And I'm sure anyone who sees this will kind of get not just the students, the parents, the schools, but then other people who are working as consultants in different industries, working on the processes, a lot of wisdoms and everything,
Yeah.
trying to use tech. They'll be very inspired with your journey. And, I think you've given some great messages to everyone out there.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been wonderful
Awesome. So
speaking with you, Paul.
likewise, I really appreciate it and look forward to kind of working with you on many other projects together and bringing a lot of value to these students, schools, and everyone we can together.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.